Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the SKNIS Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards, welcoming you to InFocus. Today's topic will be about the Department of Youth Empowerment. Now, youth remain at the heart of the nation's progress as the government of St. Kitts and Nevis has focused policy, programs, and people, all to ensure that the youth population is equipped to learn, lead, and thrive. On today's program, we'll discuss the mandate and vision of the Department of Youth Empowerment and the 5 key pillars guiding the department's goal of mainstreaming youth development. We'll also highlight how these pillars translate into real opportunities for young people and how they contribute to nation building in the Tweed Island Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Joining us for this discussion is Clive Saunders, Director of the Department of Youth Empowerment, and Sharon Richards, a youth officer. Stay with us for InFocus as we explore empowering youth for national development.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Thanks for staying with us, and allow me to welcome for the first time Pastor Clive Saunders and, of course, Sharon Richards of the Department of Youth Empowerment. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much.
And as I always mentioned, it's always an exciting time for us here when we have first-time guests, so we want to jump right into it. Now, Mr. Saunders, you're new to the role as the Director of Youth Empowerment. It's been going up on 6 months now. You were appointed back in September. Let's start off a bit with your background in youth service. Tell us a bit about that, because there are some persons who may not be aware.
Well, Ian, I've been around youth for all of my life. I grew up in the Anglican Church in what we call the Anglican Young People's Association, AYP, for many years. I think that's where it all started for me. And then from there, I moved to be a Sunday school teacher. And one day I was at home, cleaning up a storeroom, and I came across some books that actually belongs to my uncle. And in reading those books, I recognized that scouting was a part of his life growing up. And when I looked at the information, I said, this is a great way to get all these young people in church a part of scouting, great organization. And that's where I started the Scout movement at the St. Anne's Anglican Church. I been doing so much in terms of youth work. I started Boys of Standard, I started Save Our Sons. Boys of Standard was actually a singing group with young boys, about 11 of them from different churches. We used to travel all over the Caribbean, ministering. Then we had SOS, which is Save Our Sons. From SOS, we had Helping Boys Manage. So I've been around youth work for a very long time. So I come to the youth department with a lot of experience in terms of youth work.
And for that service to young people, to the community, to, of course, serving spiritually as well, to, as we mentioned, you're a pastor. You were recently bestowed with a Medal of Honor, and that was at an investiture ceremony held at Government House. Tell us a bit about that impact and what it has on you and your dedication to serve.
Well, when I learned that I got this award, I was very happy. I felt valued and encouraged, because sometimes as a young person out there doing work, working with other young people, sometimes people tend to overlook the work that you do, but getting an award like that basically encouraged me to continue to work hard to build the nation's children. So I'm very grateful for that award.
Yeah, youth work can be very unrewarding at times. It's rewarding personally because you see the impact that you have on people, but when it comes to other persons recognizing of it, it's like, they feel like you're just doing it as a hobby and it doesn't take much, but it certainly takes a lot to work with young people. And Mrs. Richards, of course, you're familiar with that, having been in the department for many, many years, working with young persons as well.
Most definitely, and I think that it could not have come at a more rewarding time for him, because he just came to our department, of course, as you know, but he has been around, and he has been around us too at our summer camp program. We had him there being a counselor at one point in time, and I know I could always call on him. He knows that, so he coming was not really a shock. It was a welcoming thing for me in terms of, okay, have him right here next door to me, so he's right there when I need him now. So
okay, so let's talk a bit about the department now, and tell us a bit about the mandate of the Department of Youth Empowerment.
Well, I think for the mandate of youth empowerment and the mandate for youth on itself on a whole, it should be to create and enable an environment that grants young people the freedom, the skills, the opportunities to make informed decisions. And we know that some of our young people don't make good choices all the times, but we want them to participate in development mental projects, actively shape their own lives, and that way when they have a say in what they are doing, and we are not telling them you do this and you do that. They have a say. So competence, confidence, and connection, those are the 3 C's that we try to base our youth mandate on. The key components for that would be active participation, of course. We know we have SKNIS. SKNIS basically would be where, as you said, give youth a voice and inspire greatness. And when they do that, they actually have a say that it can be taken back to actual parliament, and then something can be done there from that short mark parliament that they would have done with pressing issues or matters arising. Okay? Skill development and employment, providing access to quality education, that's definite, vocational training, mentorship, aligning skills with labor market, capacity building. That is definitely something that is always in the play for the youth department. We do that for the 25 most remarkable teens. We do that for our group leaders that we have on our summer camp program. Resource access. So when we did a meeting the other day with the youth groups. It was a wonderful meeting. A lot of group members, church, NGOs, just persons who were not even registered with us. They were there. And we did mention to them, because some of them would have had the challenge of money issues for things that they want to do. And I did mention to them that there are small grants out there. There's a GEF program that offers, it depends on the project that you're doing, most of them, it's environmental. So when they want something like that, you could always direct them. And that's our thing, because of course we're gonna lead you and point you in the right direction in order for you to get that the resource that you need. Safe environments, creating safe spaces, encouraging creativity, advocacy, and personal growth. So overall, I would say empowerment, the mandate, it must focus on equipping our youth to navigate challenges, voice their ideas, and contribute to a more equitable future for themselves.
And of course, it's a mouthful. What you have said, a lot is covered in the 5 key pillars, which we're going to talk about a bit later. But in terms of the strategies now to achieve this mandate, Director Saunders, talk to us a bit about the methods that are used.
Of course, there are some methods that we use. Firstly, structured programs and services. So on the structured programs and services, we look at skill building workshops and training. We're very high on that, because we believe that if we train our young people in different areas, then we'll have an effective country. And so we focus a lot on programs and services. Secondly, mentorship and coaching. Of course, our young people need to be mentored. And so for us, pairing youth with experienced professionals for guidance, which acts as a flexible and preventative strategy as well. And then you have our community centers, and I think that we we need to use them a lot more too, you know, operating dedicated spaces for after-school programs. And one of the things that we want to push at the Department of Youth is after-school programs. Getting our young people involved with programs after school is very, very important as well. Diversion programs, implementing specialized services for at-risk youth that offer alternatives to traditional and juvenile justice, such as counseling, education, and job training. And then secondly, we look at meaningful youth engagement and empowerment, youth-led initiatives. We focus on that. Basically shifting from doing for to doing with. So we want to be able to do things with our young people, right? Led community organizing and giving young people control over project outcomes. We look at local youth councils and boards. We want our young people to be on youth councils and boards to have a voice. That's our theme, giving our young people, our motto, giving young people a voice. We want our young people to be heard, and not just heard, but heard loudly, right? Youth advocacy and consultation, providing a platform for youth to voice concerns and issues affecting them, such as education, reproductive health, environmental policies. Of course, these are the things that we want our young people to be a part of. And participatory action research. And then that leads us to the third thing, which is policy and systemic support. I mean, we want our young people to be involved in policy making, decision making. So advancing youth-focused policies, mainstreaming participation, setting quality standards, okay? And number 4, networking and resource allocation, technical and financial assistance. We want to point our young people in that direction, networking platforms, alumni programs. And number 5, inclusivity and outreach methods, targeted outreach. We started that to do a lot more outreach, digitalization, and these are some of the things that we're looking at in terms of, these are some of the methods that we use to push our program, push our department at Department of Youth Empowerment.
A key point that you mentioned was mentorship. Is it difficult to find persons to mentor young people?
Sometimes it's difficult because sometimes people don't want to make themselves available to help young people. But as a department, we want to encourage, you know, the adults, even those who are listening to the program today, to really make yourself available so that, you know, we can help to steer our young people here in the country.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Richards, I want to come back to you because you spoke about, of course, the relationship that has existed between Director Saunders before he became the director. Talk to us a bit about, as you said, it was no shock to you and you essentially welcomed it, but the leadership style that he has and how has that translated to the staff in trying to achieve the objectives that he would like and set out for the department?
Well, most definitely. I think I have a combination of leadership skills for Mr. Saunders when it comes to him, because I think he's mixed between coaching, visionary, and democratic. Allow me to elaborate. Now, since he has been placed in the department, he has placed his focus on capacity building training for the staff. That's number 1. He has decided that everyone has to come to him with something. So, have a project in mind, come to him. He's gonna let you run with it. He has been very, very supportive in that area, positive feedback all around, and encouragement. So when he started doing that, it was a bit of fresh air. Not that we never had that before, but it was more, he was there and he's saying, I'm not gonna shut down anything that you're coming with. You come with something, we're gonna run with it, but you are gonna be the one leading it and spearheading it. So I could do everything myself, and he always says, I could do everything myself, but I'm not gonna do that. And he has never made a decision without including us. So I think all around he has a mixture of all, and the staff has been working much better, a lot better together. We do have these morning routines where we come up with a virtue for the week, and it's been a good thing.
What's the one for this week?
Reliability. So we do that, and there is also a thing that we say after on the virtue, and then we go with that for the week. So It has been a breath of fresh air, as I said. I think he has about 3 leadership styles, but combination all in one, it's working.
And the relatability to young people, because of course you serve clients and young persons, especially this generation. They can be, how should I put it? They can be a bit more sensitive in terms of the way that you deal with them, yes, and so
and you have to know exactly what to say, when to say, because there's a saying that says it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So I think sometimes we feel like we have to always be walking on eggshells with them. But when I went to Sandy Point yesterday, just a quick thing, I went to Sandy Point yesterday, and there was a little boy that he was at the office, went to drop the gift for them for their high school chef competition. And when I got there, he was outside of the office.
As primary or secondary
school? Secondary school. So he was there. So I said to him, why are you at the office? Are you in trouble? And he said, yes. And the teacher said, well, his mom was just here. So I said, what did you do wrong? Teacher said he pulled a chair from under a child. And so he's there at the office now waiting for the teacher to come to him. And I just stood in front of him and I said, you have to think about the worst case scenario. You have to think that your actions have consequences. You have to think that what if, when you did this, what could have happened? Then you would have been in a different situation than where you are now. So when I was leaving, before I left, I said, I want you to think about what I told you today, because your actions later on are going to have consequences. They're not going to be so easy as you going back to your classroom. And I do believe that he understood exactly what I said. I do believe that. So some of them, it's just you have to have a gentle hand with them and bring across whatever message you want to give to them.
Well, Ian, for me, I believe in teamwork. And I believe that once you have a team and the team understands the importance of what they're doing, then it makes the work very easy. So that's one of the things I really push out at the Department of Youth, that we have to work together as a team. I mean, you achieve so much more when you work together.
Very much so.
I said to them, I don't care what happened before I came. I'm here now, and I'm here to work, and I made it absolutely clear that it's not about me. It's about all of us working together to build the nation's youths. And so I came with a good spirit, good intention. I came from a very good school, Virtuous High School, who, believe in teamwork. And I just want to push that into the department. And for me, I'm seeing, the department, the officers really working and trying their best to really push out the programs, and that is what makes me happy and excited. Importantly
as well, it's important for leaders of youth groups to have that same energy as well too, because there's so many times a youth group would pop up and then it goes away.
And that's one of the things too we focus on recently, because when I came to the department, I look at the list of youth groups that we have, and we said, okay, we need to increase this. The first thing that we need to do, we need to meet with our youth leaders in the country, and we need to let them know what the youth department is all about. And of course, we had the meeting last week, Thursday, and they showed up in their numbers. They were part of the meeting, and I feel so positive about it. I feel like we actually heading something great here in St. Kitts. I feel so.
Okay, and so I mentioned earlier at the top about the 5 key pillars that's guiding the department's development, and I want to talk a bit about that, but we're going to take our first break. Well, technically it will be the second break, because there was one during the introduction. So we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and delve deeply into these issues, because of course, as I mentioned, these are the key pillars that is guiding the work of the department, and helps to guide the work of other departments as well, and where they fit in to that interministerial relationship within the Department of Youth Empowerment. So we're going to talk about that just after this quick break. Stay right there, viewers and listeners. We'll be right back with more In Focus.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Welcome back to In Focus. We continue our discussion with Clive Saunders, the Director of the Department of Youth Empowerment, and Sharon Richards, who is a youth officer there. Lifelong learning and well-being. It's the first pillar that the department is guided by in terms of its operations. Tell us, how does the Department of Youth Empowerment ensure that all young people have equal access to programs, projects, training, grants, something which is very important as we speak about being able to carry out the mandate that or the vision that they have in terms of serving their community, to support their well-being and skill development?
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier, just before we break, Ian, that one of the things that we needed to do is to get our youth groups involved, and that was one of the primary things that we look at. We want to be able to allow the youth group, or get the youth groups in St. Kitts to understand that you can have access to whatever. Nobody is depriving nobody of anything. Every youth group have the same equal opportunity to get whatever help. So when we talk about youth lifelong learning and well-being, the goal are all youth have adequate access to opportunities to improve their well-being, competencies and skills and lifestyles. So we open it and we say, look, we want you to be a part of this, we want you to come, we want you as much as possible. You don't feel like we're not discriminating anybody, we want to work with everybody. And we believe that once we work with everybody, then everything will come together as one.
But there are certain challenges, because not every club is the same. There's, for instance, the St. Kitts and Nevis Association of Persons with Disabilities. And while they're not a youth group per se, certainly there are young persons that do have disabilities. And of course, you have to make the environment welcoming. The challenge with the department, of course, and with some government facilities, unfortunately, is accessibility. Is that you're physically unable to access them themselves. And so, how do you engage with those persons who may be on the fringes, who may feel like they are on the side and they're not entirely catered for?
Well, when it came to the department, that one of the things I recognize is that we do quite a bit of work with the Cotton Thomas Comprehensive School, and our department also deals with people with disabilities. So I think that is a great way to focus and organize certain activities for them as well. Find the appropriate spaces. Yes, we know that most of the buildings were not built to accommodate that, but we have some, and so we use those spaces and we get these people with disabilities involved. So it's something that we want to build on going forward, because we believe that everyone should be a part of what is going on.
And that includes not just nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis, but of course persons who would have migrated here. St. Kitts and Nevis is fast becoming a very diverse population with persons from different countries across the region. So they encourage as well to come in and to engage with the department.
Yes.
And if they can't come in, we go to them. But there is Mrs. Brown.
Yes.
She's at a community center, and it's an accessible area that persons with disability, they can have access to any information that they may need. Any programs that we do, we try to make sure that the space that we are going to use, that it's accommodating for persons with disability. So.
Well, I must say that we need to do more, Ian, in this area, and this is something that I know Ms. Brown will be pushing for even the department to really focus our attention on people with disabilities. She's very, very serious about us not leaving them out at any time, and so as a department, we have to come together and really put some planning and really, not just talk about it, but put some action to our talk.
Of course, the government would have ratified the Convention on Persons with Disabilities, that international convention as well too. And so there are certain commitments that must be met as well. Okay, so let's talk now, as I mentioned earlier, that young persons can be a bit more sensitive, this generation. Mental health, they're very aware of their mental health, and that is something that has been considered taboo for a very long time here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So what strategies or specific initiatives are there to help to build youth competencies on that front, and that would help to address mental health and mental well-being?
First of all, we have to teach a lot more about mental health so that our young people could get an understanding of what mental health really is.
Yes,
and get them to feel comfortable that even if they're going through something,
and they can talk about
you can
it.
come in and talk about it, or talk to somebody about it. We believe that it's important for our young people to understand that there are people out there that they can talk to. There are people out there that can help to encourage them. There are people yes, you might be going through a situation, but you can come to somebody, you can get to a counselor. I mean, every school in St. Kitts have counselors working there.
But a lot of them say that the counselors are not confidential. How can I trust it?
Well, I was a counselor for almost 20 years, and I can adjust that. I think that is just a stigma. That's just something that people say, because I know when I get to school, when I used to work to Virtuous High School, there were people there, always there willing to talk with me about everything. So a child may have a situation at home with their parent, they are there. A child may have a situation at school with a teacher, they are there. And I try my best. I mean, it was me and Mr. Govaya there at Virtuous High, and we try to address the concerns of our children. So in terms of being confidential, I think that our counselors in St. Kitts are very confidential. I think it's just a stigma from years ago. People just feel like counselors are just the business. I think one of the problems though, Ian, is that there are certain things that as a counselor, you cannot keep confidential. Let me explain. If a child comes to you and says that somebody is molesting them, you know, we can't keep that confidential. Even though sometimes the child might say, I don't want it to go any further. As a counselor, we have a responsibility to report this situation. I think that is the reason why a lot of people say, oh, we don't keep things confidential because we have to report certain things that happen to the child.
But in the same vein, you still want to encourage persons to step forward if that is happening, to report that.
Yes, very, very important. And you know, it's really strange, but we just have to sit down and get our young people to understand how these processes work, you know, so that they don't feel like somebody is actually leaking their information. You know, because then more times I had to deal with children who had situation at home, and I said, look, it'll be nice if you could, you know, did you get a chance to talk to your mommy or your daddy about it? No. I said, but it'll be nice if you could have a conversation. And you know, I've even proceeded to, you know, put in that meeting together, and most of the time it turned out to be something excellent. You know, so I think that we just need to educate our young people some more.
So the department will be doing more work in the mental health field.
Of course.
I'll move on to youth equipped for decent work. That is the second pillar that I want to touch on. Give us a sense, and decent work is very important, of course. St. Kitts and Nevis, again, as we speak about conventions, the International Labour Organization, we are a party to that and occupational safety and health. Those are things that the Department of Labour is really pushing and ensure that, you know, inspections are done. But first, you have to be employed. And there are a lot of persons, young persons in St. Kitts and Nevis, who would tell you, well, it's difficult to get a job. Can you give us a sense of what the labor employment stats look like here in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, I don't have the stats per se, but this is something that we, as a department, we need to look more into in terms of the stats to see how much our young people are employed, how much out there are looking for a job. We also want to push as a department. You have to be creative. In that a lot of people finish with school, but they are looking to be employed. What about starting your own business? What about pointing you to the resources? There are grants, there are certain things that the government give out to give you a jump start in starting your own business. So we have to get our young people to change their way of thinking. Mindset. Because when like for example, a few days ago I went into a barber shop in Bastille, and I think the owners are Spanish. And I'm not hating the Spanish community. I applaud them for what they do. But when you go into a barber shop and you see about 12 barbers and they are working, and you know, people are there sitting down, they have a chair for each barber, and people are in those chairs, and you look at a business like that and you say, what is happening to our kitchens? Why are we not pushing out as much as these people that come into our country? And it's because of our mindset. You know, we think that it's about somebody creating something for us and not we creating something for ourselves.
It's that entitlement culture that has invaded the thinking of a lot of young persons, and it also leads to, which I'm going to come to a bit later, volunteerism. But that mindset, how do you begin to deprogram people from that mindset?
Again, it goes back to training. It goes back to having that conversation with our young people. You know, and get them and motivate our young people, because there's a lot of greatness in our young people, you know, but we have to motivate them. We have to tell them, hey, you can do it. It's a possibility if you just move forward and just be serious about it. And you know, we at the department, we want to push this. We know we don't have access to a lot of resources, but we can help in our own little way to really push and encourage our young people to step out, and we have done that in the past.
Now, as you mentioned in terms of persons leaving schools and who may seek to become employed, there are some persons who leave schools who are not sure how to build a resume. Some of them, depending on their extracurricular, may not have much to go on a resume. So is that a part of the strategy that the department has to help persons to learn how to write a resume and become more attractive to employers? And you also touched on the entrepreneurship. Is that something, because I know back in the past there used to be a SIBO. Yes, I'm not sure if that's still happening. So update us in terms of what's happening there.
Well, that's something, and unless Sharon's jump in here, that's something that we want to develop more going forward, because we want the youth department to be like an open door. Young people feel you should be able to come to the youth department and ask the youth department, what are the opportunities for young people? Where are the jobs? So it means that we have to work in hand with the labor department, you know. What are the grants available to push, you know, if I want to start my own business? So these are things that we want to push some more. So you could jump in.
I feel that when our young people graduate from college, from high schools, most of the jobs that they look at would say you have to have a certain amount of years experience, and that deters them immediately. It shuts them down. So we are saying, if that's the case and you look in the job, why not create a job for yourself? Why not? With the Remarkable Teens, excuse me, with the Remarkable Teens, we have someone coming in and talking to them about the projects that they're going to be doing. What we got an offer for from Ms. Roberts and Mr. Edwards Douglas and Ms. Patrice Harris is to come in and talk to them most definitely about creating their own jobs. So that is something that we have. They haven't given me the proposal yet, but that is something they want to deal with, starting with the Remarkable Teens. Because we're not going to have enough jobs immediately to suffice the amount of children that are going to be graduating, young persons graduating. So what do we do?
I want to come back to that, but let me just follow up on, as you mentioned, like workshops, like how to write a resume, what employers look for. That's
included with Ms. Harris and Mr. Edwards and Ms. Roberts.
But that is targeting Remarkable Teens. There's only 25 of them, and one can argue that the Remarkable Teens, they're already doing something outstanding. What about those who are...
We're going to open it to other people as
yes,
well.
Yes, but that would be our pilot, because this is what because he was the profile writer, he wanted to start the program with them first. So they're going to come in on Saturday when we have the capacity building training, come in and start with them. But it's only the start. We're going to open it, of course, to youth groups, to young people. As the minister would have stated that she wants over to be a lounge. So with that said, as long as it's set up in the space is set as a lounge, then we have all different things happening at that time. So most definitely it's going to be open to other young persons who wish to have that.
SIBO was a 5-day training. It involved some theoretical and some practical. They had to go out and sell on the 5th day. And
definitely.
I was intimately involved with that, I should mention. But, so that we'll see that continuing. Will that be revived, or is there another model that is being looked at?
Well, we have not actually researched that. I could always get the background layout from Mr. Liebert, because he was very hands-on in implementing SIBO. We could also work with trade, because we know they do have persons registered with them, like entrepreneurs. So most definitely we can look into that, because that is one of the things that we want the young persons to focus on, being an entrepreneur. And we do have some young persons who do the little craft things, and we try to help them advertise. As long as they tell us what they're doing, send us a flyer, then we push that for them on our page also. So advertisement for our young persons who can come through the youth department also, in order to help them to achieve what they're trying to achieve in terms of being an entrepreneur.
And to be honest, Mr. Richards, that's the first time I'm actually hearing about that. Yeah. So that's, you know, yes. So, you know, giving me the opportunity to really dive in and look at in respect to that particular program. And, you know, that was something that was started by Pierre.
Yes.
Yes, but it was...
And of course, we want to salute Pierre. Pierre did a great work, you know, in the Department of Youth. You know, since I you know, reached the department, I'm looking at all the stuff that was done. And one of the things about the department, Ian, is that I think that we don't talk a lot, we don't push a lot of our stuff out there in the public. So a lot of people feel like not much going on with the youth department, but sitting down in Literature is a lot. And I really want to salute Pia and Sahira for the great work they've been doing. And as I said, that I'm not there to say to bash them or anything. I'm here to build on what they started. And I'm going to look into that program because it's something that we really need to push.
Right. Well, SIBO stood for creating entrepreneurial and business opportunities. It was a CARICOM program, so it was actually piloted in St. Kitts and Nevis, and it expanded to different countries across CARICOM. I recall doing a training in all the way in Belize. As well too, yes. It was a very
like a Caribbean thing.
Yes, and it engaged at-risk young persons. It was very, very effective. But you know, we can engage a bit more. Now, I want to also move on to youths as agents of change. We spoke about the volunteerism and needing to change that mindset of persons. There seems to be a lack of patriotism among, I don't want to say most, I would say some young people.
Some young persons.
Of course, I think the local bands have been doing a good job in terms of the 869 and maybe Homecoming and so. I don't really listen to the music, so I'm not too sure. But there seems to have been in the music seems to be encouraging persons to identify and be proud of who you are as St. Kitts and Nevis. So tell us a bit about how the department is encouraging volunteerism and celebrating volunteers, holding them up as models, because of course, as I mentioned in terms of the investiture, these are peer persons who would have achieved in St. Kitts and Nevis. They have role models, or very own local role models. So how is the department doing that in terms of celebrating volunteerism and encouraging it?
Well, volunteerism it's what it is. It's volunteerism. Now, I have been a volunteer with the Red Cross for like over 25 years now. I have never said that I would like monetary contributions. I think when we had the SAFE program, the majority of the persons on that program was because of that. And then we opened it to adults, and of course, you know, our summer camp leaders, they're always volunteers.
Just for background, SAFE would have been the program that was run in the college.
Right.
Right, and so persons, you get a financial support from the government,
right,
and so part of it is that you do certain hours of volunteer work.
And we encountered some problems with that, and parents, I just want to encourage your parents, volunteerism, it goes a long way. It looks good on your resume, that's number one. Number two, a lot of colleges, the first thing they're looking at, you did any volunteer work. When you go look at a job now, they're looking at, you never volunteered a day in your life. So they're looking at that now. So we want to try to encourage persons to do just that, volunteer, and do not look for a monetary contribution from that. And that was the problem that we were facing when it came to some of the young persons that was on that program. With the exception of our leaders from the summer camp, you know, they're always there. And we could reach out to them when we're having beach cleanups and stuff like that. So we sort of partnered with a young lady, and she does this thing, like she will put your work on her site and then see volunteers if they're available for that time frame. And it wasn't working very well. It wasn't. So we basically got stuck with the same bunch that we have all the time. And when the SAFE program was no longer, then those volunteers, they left.
And that's one of the things I recognize, Ian, that, you know, getting into the department, recognize that same volunteer program, you know, after they finish getting that stipend, it just went down. And so we have decided that we're going to train, we're going to start with our 25 most remarkable teams, and we're going to try to build that program up and get them to understand that volunteer. There's no pay when you volunteer. And as Sharon would have said, there's so much benefits to volunteering, you know. So we want to move in that direction, but we recognize that we need volunteers. We cannot do it without volunteers because government cannot pay everybody. And sometimes the programs require a lot of assistance with people out there. So we have to, again, get our young people to understand, you know, what are the benefits of volunteering other than getting money.
So you have to speak their language to them. I imagine the use of social media, very important to highlight these things.
Very important. And I think that's one of the things that we did touch with the youth groups too, because we have a specific youth group, and if you call them, as long as it's within their time frame, when they're available, they're always there. I kid you not. And we did speak to them, let them know they could send us their year of the calendar of events, what they have for this year, and we would try our best to partner with them, volunteer with them if they need be, and they do likewise and volunteer with us. Because they do have a lot of young persons in their groups. It's just for them to be accessed per se, in terms of when we are doing something. So we did, of course, send them our calendar of events. They should have that within their possession. If not, it should be on its way. And of course, they should be sending theirs to us so we could see where we can fit in and where they can fit in with us. Because as Mr. Saunders would have said, this is something new for them, a lot of them. Because we didn't have the persons that we had there, we never had that much persons before. I can tell you the truth in terms of a meeting. And we spoke about that, and Mr. Wallace from KVK, he would have spoken to that and said, this is the most persons he have seen, because he's a regular. He's always there for any training that we have for the groups. He's a constant. SKNIS is a constant. The Pathfinders are constant persons. So they're always there, but we want to reach out to more persons and let them know it's not just a youth group, it could be church youth group members too. We're thankful that Turnaround Agenda, they had a couple members came onto the meeting, and I met Pastor Connor, I think when I had the volunteer group. 2 of his volunteers were not doing right, and I called him, and he checked them. He did check them, and they got in line till they got rewarded at our youth reception for being the best volunteer for the year afterwards. They were actually shocked. And that is something that we do reward when we have the youth reception. As long as they've been doing hours, they've been volunteering, we acknowledge them, we give them a little plaque. They have that for a lifetime. They say, you know what, I got something. I got something.
Just quickly, what do you attribute to the massive turnout to that meeting?
I think it was basically like a more personal touch, like reaching out to them like personally.
The calls.
One of the calls, the following up, leading up to the meeting.
Right.
Let them know that there are benefits of being a part of the youth department in terms of coming out. Lots of benefits. Of course, we don't have the money to spend again, but there are benefits. There are lots of youth groups who have camps. And so they're able to get a discount on their cots
or chairs,
stoves,
or
tables if they're registered with the youth department. And I think that people wanted to see something new. People wanted to, now be a part of. So the turnout was excellent. We basically, the room was packed to capacity.
And some of these groups were like not even registered for years. Because we went back to like 2018, 2017 and invited all those groups, and they never registered coming up to the year in the 20s. So they were invited and they showed up.
Because we recognize that getting them involved is the best way. That's the best way to move the youth department.
Have you seen an uptick in registration?
They have started. I do not have the count to this day. Miss Woods would be the one in the office that is taking lead on the groups, and she was very instrumental in getting those members there. Again, we say thank you to her. Yes, she did a wonderful job in calling them, reminding them of the time and the meeting and so on.
And they actually have a date this month.
The end of the month. They have until the end of the month to register.
Okay. All right. So. And one of the points I should also mention in terms of registering, one of the benefits, of course, is that you can be eligible for duties, exemption. That's certainly very important, especially for persons who want to do their projects or do a little group business or stuff like that. It certainly would help. Okay. Youth work and excellence, that was the point, and we touched on it a bit because it covers the volunteerism, and it also, as you mentioned, the remarkable teens, but there's also a star boy and star girl program. Well, it's just 40 minutes left, so just I want to touch on, since we already touched on the achievements and so youth work and evidence-based developments. How does the department ensure that the consistency and that there's quality in its programming, and also link that to the fact that, as we mentioned, for instance, with statistics and with the census, you need to have data to say to the government, to say to an organization, to say to whoever. This is happening on the ground, the paper shows it here. And so you must have that evidence base in order to move forward projects. Talk to us a bit about how the department is strengthening the evidence
base. That's one of the
base.
things too we're trying to build, and in terms of data, because I know the importance of data, in order to even push out proper programs and meeting the needs of our young people as well. But one of the things, as I say, was strategic for us is to get our youth leaders involved, to give us an idea as to what is actually going on the ground, so that cause us to make certain decisions, get them involved in that way as much as possible. So yes, the data is something that we really need to go out there. We need to get more, and having our youth groups a part of it would also help us to acquire that data.
So for those who did not answer the call, what's the strategy to engage them?
We're going to reach back out to them again. We're going to reach back out because we want to reach as much as possible. So those who couldn't make it last week, we're going to reach back out to them so that they can be a part of it when we have it the second time around.
Okay. Now the 5 pillars that I mentioned, they are outlined in the Federal Youth Policy 2022 to 2027. That's the 5-year period that was set for this youth policy. We're in 2026.
We are.
Has the work begun to update the policy for the next 5 years?
Not as yet, because again, goes back to the involvement of people, because you can't just update a policy without involving people. Right. And that the strategy was to get our youth groups on board, our youth leaders on board, so that we could start that process to see, to put forward as to what are some of the changes that we like to see, things that we want to add in order to strengthen this particular.
Because the first time when we actually had anything to do with implementing the policy, Ms. Eversley, doing it Eversley was very instrumental in helping us to do that. And we did involve youth group, we did involve entrepreneurs, young persons within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, business persons, and all of that. So it would be remiss of us not to involve them if we're going to do any updates on the policy. Of course, we know it needs to be finalized, because all I've been seeing would be draft. It's still the draft stage, so it needs to be finalized in terms of that. But of course,
I think it was. It did go to Parliament. It went to Parliament when Mr. Richards, MP Richards, Shawn Richards, Shawn Richards, yes.
Yeah, probably. So then, if any changes, and times change, so I think the young person.
And that's why we have to look at it. That's why we have to look at it. So many things change from since that.
So we might have a few things to add or take away. So it's a work in progress.
Okay, and certainly, as you mentioned, in terms of times changing, for instance, a pandemic. Who knew 5 years ago that we had to grappling with a pandemic, and we saw how that would have impacted not just St. Kitts and Nevis, but the entire world. And so
it did. And at that point in time, when we had COVID, we had to resort to an online camp. I don't know if you know about that one. Instead of us having our regular camp at Beach Island, we had to have an online camp.
Creative ways to engage young people. Right.
It was.
So, before I move on to some of the activities, I just want to touch on an important role as we speak about how the government engages young people in terms of policy shaping. How is that done from the department standpoint?
Sharon, you can.
But from the department standpoint, I definitely think, I don't know if I should say that. So let me control my thoughts first. From the department standpoint, when it comes to policy making, I think the only person that really speaks for us would be SKNIS. In terms of what next or what we would like to see. Mr. Muriel Knight, he's one. He definitely comes to the department and he sits and he would ask questions. And I know when he goes back, something would be done or said concerning that. Besides the minister, she just came back, of course, but she normally would have one-on-ones with us to know what next steps, what best steps. Otherwise than that, we would have to call on our director for him to go over and fight the battles for us.
But there is that direct engagement with the young persons themselves. I know, as you mentioned, remarkable teens. There was that engagement that they had with the Prime Minister at his residence, and the Deputy Prime Minister.
We also have a forum a youth congress that we normally have, a youth forum where the young people get a chance to really express themselves and ask questions to the government ministers. So these are things that we got to continue to push for, so that the young people can get a chance to voice their opinion or voice how they feel, So these are things that we have to look at.
At the Prime Minister House, I think those remarkable teens, they came prepared. Those ones actually came prepared, and he had the time was not enough for the questions that they had and the answer segment of it. But I think from a lot of that from the previous years in 2023, that was the last one because we did double up for this year. From that came the here, you could have your here.
Right. Changing in schools.
Yeah, that change came in place for that. And I think what the Prime Minister has to deal with now, from these remarkable teens, the questions and things that they propose to him, he has a lot more to deal with this year. So he's working on it, I know, because he promised them that as soon as updates are available, they will know so. I know he's working on what they have asked.
One of the things to Ian that in coming into this position that I recognize is that the youth department is actually equipped in terms of their number of their number of equipment they could actually have a media team. Mm-hmm. They are that equipped, so we want to really put things in place to really get our media team operational so that we could give youth more voice. We have it. We have the cameras. We have practically everything to do that.
Yeah, there was a program the department used to do. It was hosted by Irvin Welsh. I'm not quite. Something Voices or something like that. I'm not quite remembering the name, but that was captured. And I know, of course, as we speak about the engagement, Minister Phillips, she has a minister's caravan where she goes to different schools and talks to the different groups as well. Or sometimes they come together for
the forum or the forum. Yeah.
What's happening with the department and trying to get a National Youth Council formed?
Well, that's a work in progress again. But recently, what we did, we moved because we want to get our student councils along, also a part of decision making as well. So we had an opportunity to go to all high schools, and we met with the student council as well, because that is part of the process in getting that up and running as well.
I think the challenge that when we were talking about it first, when we had the Ever First Congress, I think the challenge we were facing is that some of the children, because they would have used a lot in the 5th form and 4th form, and they would be outgoing. So then of course they'd have to do elections again, have a new student council again. So to say you're going to have the national
youth council,
youth council after that, it was should we have it from those in 1st to 4th, and then we skip out the 5th formers, but we didn't want to do that. So we definitely needed to do a revamping in terms of the age that we want to hold and capture for that National Youth Council.
Okay, we are almost out of time. I think there's about 4 minutes left. So I just want to mention some of the new activities that the department has had, and one actually took place, I think it was earlier this week, launched of Adopt an Elder program. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's also going to be a launch of a Department of Youth Empowerment Boys and Girls Club, the launch of a Bridging the Gap, launch of a backyard garden program. Of course, that fits into the sustainability and food security thrusts of the government, and the launch of a Future Ready Camp, Future Ready Career and Life Skill Accelerator program. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have time to discuss all of these, and so Pastor Saunders and Mrs. Richards, you can come back. I want to talk about just very quickly the Boys and Girls Club, because we're familiar, some of us are familiar with that term in the United States. It's a whole big organization. What's the thinking behind here having that done locally?
Well, the mission of the Boys and Girls Club is to inspire and empower youth through safe, supportive and enriching after-school programs that promote academic achievement, leadership development, physical health and life skill. Now, I traveled to Orlando in the summer, and I got an opportunity to attend that same Boys and Girls Club, and it was awesome. And when I saw it, I said we need to get this in St. Kitts. So we're going to pilot it in a few primary schools first. The whole idea is the children will come right after school. We help them with their homework, and then we have a whole program that is planned for them that we touch on different skills and you know different things we teach the children. And so I'm really looking forward. We're just waiting on the Ministry of Education to give us the green light to go into the schools, and maybe within a couple of weeks we should be there doing this particular program. So we're looking forward. We're going to have program and services, academic support, homework help, STEM workshops, reading literacy initiatives, college and career readiness programs, leadership and life skills, leadership clubs and youth councils, financial literacy workshops, conflict resolution, communication skills, community service project. Then there's a health and wellness aspect. We deal with sports, nutrition and education, mental health and resources, back to the mental health, and resources and mindful programs. Then you have a creative and arts and technology, focus on art, music, dance classes, video production and digital media, coding and robotics clubs. And you know, we have a good robotics club here. An
excellent club, yes.
Sorry. Then you have the target market. Of course, we're going to start in the primary school, but the whole aim is to go over into the high school eventually. So everybody is going to be involved. And so families seeking affordable, high quality after school care, that's the place that we want to encourage to get your children. So again, we're going to start in the primary school, and we're going to develop it into something great.
And that's the after-school program that you were speaking about the department moving into. But a question that comes out of that, because you mentioned in terms of financial literacy, etc. Of course, there's going to be, well, not there going to be, there is the Aspire program. So how do you avoid duplication? How will that work?
Well, it's a little different to the Aspire program in a sense, a little different, tweak it a little different. Because we don't want to do the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. You go into the schools and you do the same thing over and over. So the Boys and Girls Club is going to be very creative in terms of planning.
Okay, because I was going to say that there's some persons who may feel like, well, if they're already doing it here, why do you need to do it somewhere else?
It's going to be like a more hands-on approach to it.
Sounds like you're going to have to come back to explain some plans.
Yes, we would really like to come back. So we want to dive more, deeper into the programs as well.
So the launch date, February, is that still on track? You're looking to have that this month?
Again, all of these programs, most of them are hold up because we're still waiting on Ministry of Education to give us the green light. But we already had the groundwork for it. We're just waiting for them to say go ahead.
Okay.
Yesterday we launched the elders Adopt an Elder. The whole idea of that program is basically to get our young people to understand that our elders are very important and we have to look after them. We have to appreciate what they did for us, and we started that program yesterday, and it was just so awesome. Going into the home of a sister there, a mother there in Mansion, and we spent time with her. We sing, we read scriptures, we encourage, and she encouraged us too. She was married for 40 plus years, she said, and she was able to tell us and I wish things like this we need to capture. How did she kept her marriage together for 49 years?
Listening.
So it was good.
So who is we? Was it the staff? Was it
the entire staff went? But the whole idea is the staff is going to go still, but we're going to take young people with us going forward.
Okay, so you started with the staff.
We started with the staff, right. Yes.
That's a more controlled environment there. Okay, all right. We have 40 seconds left. Quickly, final comments, Mrs. Richards, and then Director Saunders. Final comments.
So I just want to encourage, of course, the youth groups and the young persons that used to volunteer. Please, we welcome you back. And the youth groups, we welcome you to join us at the youth department. Of course, you have many things that are affordable to you. So.
All right, I thank you very much, Ian, for allowing us to be here in InFocus. And of course, I want to encourage everybody out there listening or watching the program today, get involved in a positive way, and let's push the Department of Youth Empowerment into something great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Director Clive, Saunders, Youth Officer Sharon Richards, thank you for joining us. And certainly, as mentioned, we'll have you back sometime very soon. We'd like to thank you, viewers and listeners, for joining us for this edition of InFocus. We trust that you will join us next week at the same place, at the same time for another edition. I'm Ian Richards. Remember, it's InFocus, your government, your business.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.